I think this was a very classy, well-made movie about ratchet shit. So starting out today, I want to give a massive shout out to Q Reviews on YouTube. I absolutely despise movie reviewers. That's the whole reason we were inspired to even make a movie reviews podcast, but you guys were fucking amazing. I don't know how.
Like hella on point.
Hella on point, dude. Like the reason that we hate movie reviewers and decided to become movie reviewers is because everybody's so fucking uppity. So fucking uppity, dude. Like they're just the worst, and all they want to talk about is this uppity bullshit, and they just have this politically correct pretense and just all this shit going on. But you guys were amazing. I got so sucked in to watching your review that it was amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, seriously, you guys were on point with everything.
You guys were on point, and you inspired us, and you encouraged us to want to keep doing this. So please go to YouTube and check out Q Reviews, and we wish you nothing but love and success. So today we are also going to talk about Zola, the movie Zola, which is a true story based on a series of tweets that went viral in 2015, right?
Yeah, in 2015.
We read the tweets for this, and one of the things that I can tell you all about this is that if you aren't interested in this movie, from what we have to say about it,
at least check out the tweets.
At least check out the tweets, man. The tweets are amazing, and I got sucked in for the tweets. I hate Twitter. I hate Twitter like I hate modern movie reviewers, but I was just compelled. This was amazing. I gotta say, Isaiah King, who is the real life lady that wrote about this and brought this movie to life by telling her life story that she went through. Girl, you are as talented at storytelling as you are at business, apparently, and you should pursue that.
Definitely.
Most definitely. The movie Zola is basically a movie that seems like it's going to be about stripping that turns out to be a movie about tricking. It's about this girl named Stephanie, who is based on the real life girl, Jessica. If you've read the tweets. They go to a restaurant and she meets a waitress, a very attractive waitress, and they vibe on the fact that they're both very attractive females. And they start talking. They realize that they both use their attractiveness for money, so to speak, and they're both exotic dancers. Stephanie ends up asking Zola, "Hey, do you want to make some money? I know this is your side gig here as a waitress. Do you want to make some money and come down to Florida with me and strip at some high-end strip clubs and make some nice stacks over the weekend and come back up and we'll pay for your trip and just come with me and let's do this as a homegirls thing."
And they actually voice it over, so they actually do some of the tweets in there too for this movie.
They show you guys the source material for this story, which is again a true story. So they end up going down to Florida and, they go to a couple of clubs and they go with Stephanie's boyfriend, who is very accurately described by Q Reviews as a simp. And so they put him up in a rowdy motel while they go out to work with the pimp, basically sends him out to work. They don't make very good money and they come back and he goes, "How much did y'all make?" And it's not very much money. And he goes, "Well, okay, so do y'all want to trap?" Which is not drug dealing, but in stripper culture, as is pointed out by Isaiah King in her tweets, that's tricking. He's saying you guys want to go and slang some jelly rolls, so to speak. And, if you don't understand what I just said, you can go ahead and cut this off right now. If you don't get that slang, this is not the podcast review for you, buddy.
No.
This is not a family movie. This is not something you want to watch.
I think when people went and watched this, there were people leaving the movie theater while this was going on.
What did they think this was about? Like, did they not even... I could have
Apparently, they didn't read the summary or the synopsis of this movie.
That's what I'm saying. Did they not even watch a preview of this movie? If you're the kind of person that doesn't want to see something like this, and that's a lot of people, mind you. If you're the kind of person that is not cut out for this kind of story, then if you watch the trailer for this film, it will make it very clear to you this is not your movie. This is not the kind of thing. So, bless their hearts, the people that went to see this in the theaters and spent money to see this movie. Yeah, they round out very quick that
I
they
bet
should
they
have
went
watched
back
the preview.
to the ticket booth and asked for their money back.
If they even had the gumption to do that, dude, they were probably so upset and offended they didn't even do that much. So they go down to Florida, they go out and it doesn't work out stripping, so they go out and decide to go tricking instead, and then the pimp puts them up in a nice hotel, and he's like, "Okay, so I've set you up with these clients and they're coming up here, and you know, they end up basically like saying, okay, well, they're going to charge this much for it. And Zola says, dude, you're charging how much for this shit? This is terrible. You should not charge this little amount of money for the service that you're providing, for the unique experience you're providing. She basically says pussy is worth thousands and you're charging hundreds and tens even.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. You're selling yourself way short. Like, what ends up happening is Zola takes a photo of her homegirl, Stephanie, and she puts her on Backpage, and she says, look, let me show you how to do this right. And, you know, within a few minutes, they end up having a lot of new clients coming in, paying what they should be paying for this. And instead of making a few $100s like they would have if they just listened to the pimp, they end up making $8,000 in a night. And this movie is the story of all the crazy things that happen along the way, along the ride of this couple of days in Florida that's spent between two strippers that end up taking it to the, I guess you would call it, the next level of stripping. I mean, sex work, basically, if you want to be super politically correct. Yeah, it's a fucking awesome movie. Did you like this movie, Danny?
Oh, yeah, I liked it. Especially, it gives you in-depth detail of what actually goes on behind the scenes.
Hell yeah, it's a good picture of real life. Like, I couldn't sell this. I would never try to recommend this movie to my mom, but one thing I'll give to my mom, who I'm very close to, is that, you know, something she points out very frequently is that it's always valid to make a movie or to tell a story, no matter how graphic or disturbing the content is, if it's a story about something that happened to real people. And this is exactly what that is. Am I right?
It is, because this could happen to anybody.
It can happen to anybody that goes down to Florida stripping and ends up having a bad experience with a shady dude that really has other ulterior motives in mind.
Oh, yeah, well, don't forget, Zola doesn't even know who he is.
She has no idea who this dude is. Like, I mean, I don't know what kind of good vibe or what kind of sales pitch they must have given the real Zola, Isaiah King, to go and be on this crazy adventure.
Well, according to the tweets, she actually went down to Florida prior to them meeting.
She did.
And she made 15,000, right?
15? No, I did 15,000?
It was 15K, so yeah.
No shit.
Well, it was stripping. So she's
so she had seen opportunity in Florida before to really make money. It's not random that she was sold on this idea.
Yeah, she was like, well, who's going? When are we leaving? I'm sold. I'm low-key sold, but I want to make sure that I'm covered.
Speaking of low-key, just on a little side note here, do you think that, you know, Zola's waitress job where she ended up meeting Stephanie or Jessica was basically her on-paper job to claim on her taxes and get through life?
Most definitely, because I've worked with coworkers that had stripper girlfriends and stuff like that, and yeah, you have the paper job, so to speak, and then you have the stripping
then you have
job.
The money-making job.
Yeah.
You have the one where you really get paid at. Did you know that the average stripper in Las Vegas makes $80,000 a year tax-free?
Holy shit.
Or $80,000 a year in cash. I guess it depends on the individual, you know, whether or not it's tax-free, and I guess on the individual's accountant, to be honest. But that's gangster. That's gangster.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm questioning my life choices.
No kidding, right? Like, I'm a libertarian. I'm not a Republican with a bong. I am a hardcore, borderline anarchist libertarian, and one of my main points about that, not to get all political because this is not about politics, but I firmly believe that people own themselves. You own your own body. That is your property. You have the right to do with it whatever you want to, and to go out and make money with it.
My body, my choice.
My body, my choice. And man, not to get political again, but what the fuck is up with modern feminists that go around promoting that very true idea, which is very true, and I absolutely agree with it, but yet these same feminists will think that women should be arrested for prostitution.
It's a double standard.
It's a double standard. It's a double standard, and it just goes to show you how anti-sex a lot of feminism really is. Would you call this a sex-positive movie?
In a way.
In a way.
Don't forget, it does get a little...
It gets a little gritty. It definitely shows the negative, ugly side of it. And P.S., just spoiler alert, this is a movie that's literally all about sex. So if you are thinking about watching this with if your parents are conservative Christians that you're very close to, as I am with mine, don't watch this movie with them. Do yourself and them a favor and don't watch this movie with them.
No, because there's literally a hotel scene that lasts longer, and a lot of movie reviewers cover it a lot longer than it should have. Like, in my opinion, if you had men revolving around the door, it would have been a lot better than getting down to the nitty-gritty in the bed.
Oh, most definitely. Something even Q reviews, one of the things even they pointed out was that, this got a little too much there. They thought they took this on a little bit too long, and, that's a very valid point of view. So all I'm saying is that, if they thought that, and this is the folks that, brought up Snow on the Bluff, which is one of the grittiest things you could ever watch, definitely it's gritty. It's in your face. It definitely shows you the ugly side of it, and not to give too much away, but when they were showing the attributes of one customer that came to Stephanie,
he was hung.
Yeah, I felt a little bit bad for Stephanie. I was like, man, she had some heavy lifting, so to speak, to do that night.
Yeah,
she was probably a little bit wore out after that. This movie goes on and gets way crazier than just what we're describing, and we're not going to just give away the whole thing because you're either going to watch it or you're not by this point, and we definitely recommend that you watch it. It was extremely well handled. If you don't take our word for it, again, please go see Q Reviews and go watch the review of it. Like, I was as hooked in by Q Reviews' review of this as I was by the tweets of this movie.
Yeah.
Like we said, if you haven't, if you're on the fence about whether or not to go and watch this, go read the tweets. Go and look up Zola tweets on Google and go read Isaiah King's original storytelling about this. And trust me, again, I'm a person, I hate Twitter. I can't stand Twitter. Danny runs our Twitter account just because I can't stand it that much. Dude, I was so sold. I was like hooked in. She really drew me in. It was really amazing. I hope that she gets paid super duper money as an author or something else just because she deserves it, especially for living through this and documenting it. And I appreciate her telling her true life story to the world about this because...
Well, she even tweets later on that people think that she's lying about it.
And she proves them wrong, dude. She makes it very clear, like, oh, no, y'all, check it out. This is picture proof. Here's the evidence. And speaking of the pictures, for y'all that go and check out the tweets, dude, the characters, the casting in this movie was on point because they looked so much like the real people.
Oh yeah, I when I first pulled it up, I was like, I had to do a double take just to make sure I wasn't looking at the characters.
So, Danny, what genre would you say this movie is?
Dark humor comedy. But the only reason why I say that is because if the director actually went ahead and followed all the tweets and everything, and
he did a good job with it.
Yeah, he did. She did.
She did. Oh no, my bad. She did a great job with it. But shout out to the director. Our focus on this podcast is not that we don't care about the actors or the director or the studio or all that stuff. It's just that you guys get so much of that with your other movie reviews. We're just two idiots that focus on the story and how the story appeals to idiots, basically.
Pretty much. Well, anyways, so the director goes ahead and
does a great job of showing you what's going on with the story.
Yeah, outlines the tweets because
one scene at a time.
Oh yeah, one scene at a time. It starts off and Zola is actually, voicing over the certain scenes and everything.
And that's one of the things I really loved about this movie is that this movie, Zola is not the main character in this movie. Technically, Stephanie is the main character of this movie, but the movie, very appropriately, is named after the real hero of this story, who is the storyteller of the tweets and the narrator in this story, which is Zola. She's the real hero of this. This wouldn't have been a story without her.
Oh yeah, like the hotel scene when they go out to trap. She literally, like we stated earlier, goes, you could get so much more for this, makes a back page, and has a minimum of what? The tweet said 500.
Yeah, a minimum of 500. Not just 500, but 500 for 15 minutes. So instead of, a couple $100 an hour, which the pimp was trying to get for what he sees as his property. I don't think women are property, just to be clear, but judging in the context of this story, basically Zola tells her, look, you are worth so much more than your your so to speak property manager is putting you on the market for. She puts it very bluntly and says, girl, pussy is worth thousands. What are you doing selling it for hundreds? Like, instead of, a few hundred for 15 minutes, she makes sure it's $2,000 an hour. It's $500 for 15 minutes.
And it gets crazier than that. And Of course,
most definitely
we
does.
have the boyfriend that's a simp, and he has emotional breakdowns throughout the
He's
movie.
bipolar as fuck, y'all, and he definitely does a bunch of bipolar shit, which Isaiah King goes way more into with her tweets than the movie does. Not to fault the movie or the director. I thought that she did a great job with telling the story visually.
Ian, you also have to think that if she included what the tweets actually said, it would actually be a longer movie.
It would be a longer movie, and I don't think that most audiences could sit through like a story that's intense for longer than they did. So I think that was a good choice. Like as a director, as a visual storyteller, mad props to. I don't even know. Like I said, that's not the focus of this podcast, but to whoever directed this, girl, you did a great job.
But again, with the dark humor, if it followed the tweets, it would not be a dark humor comedy story or try to be...
It would be more of a documentary
and horror.
Yeah, most definitely, because this is not a cute story.
Oh, no.
This is really a story about the dark side of life, and it kind of reminds me of what I forget exactly who it was, it Mark Twain or Oscar Wilde, one of those fucking guys that was pretty great. He said basically, if you're gonna tell the truth, you better make it funny, because otherwise people are gonna hate you for it. And
and don't want to watch it or don't want to hear it.
No, they don't. And on that note, I mean, to me, that's what a dark comedy is. It's something that's not supposed to be funny, but it is funny, especially if you're the kind of person that has suffered or has had no choice but to be exposed to the gritty part of life and the realities of the human condition.
Oh yeah, especially what this story portrays via the tweets that actually happened.
And again, we can't stress to you enough, like, the tweets are amazing. Like, I hate Twitter. I hate even the things that people love on Twitter. I especially hate the things that people love on Twitter. But, dude, I loved this. This was amazing. Like, I honestly think I enjoyed the tweets as much as I enjoyed the movie. Like, because I read them after I watched this movie. Like, I was... Full disclosure, we just did that to do a better job on this, this awful podcast.
Exactly. I have a Twitter, but I don't use it.
This is Amigas, which is an anagram for ask me if I give a shit. That's what we really want to know. Do we give a shit about this movie? Danny, did you care about these people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and...
I did, too. I really did. Like, I didn't even like these people, but, bro, I cared about them, which is awesome.
I think it was, like, within the first 15 minutes I started caring.
Most definitely, dude. Like, I didn't, because they were believable. They were real. And one of the things I really loved about these people is that they were so politically incorrect, because it's not politically correct to have a white girl that's as black, especially in how she talks, as Stephanie was. But if you've been around life like Danny and I have, this person exists. If you're from Memphis, Tennessee, or Macon, Georgia, or Oakland, California, or Henderson, North Carolina, you have met this girl. She is for real, dude. She's not, whether the fake ones and the real ones, you've met this chick. She exists. She's out there.
Well, don't forget, we also in the South have a lot of people called mud babies or mud runners that, act Southern just because they went to one mud running and think they're hot shit.
The asphalt cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
With I'm not even going to call it the Carolina Squad anymore. We're just going to call it the Cali Lean and pretend like it's California's fault, even though it's really not. Yeah. And P.S. on some libertarian shit. Just so you guys know my credentials in case anyone's wondering if I'm a real libertarian. I hate the Carolina Squat. I hate the Cali Lean. I hate the Tennessee Tilt. I hate all that bullshit. But not for a second do I think it should have been illegal. If you own your truck and you can drive it responsibly without hurting anyone, you have a right to make it look as stupid as you want.
Oh, definitely.
It's your right. Again, and that's the theme of this movie. My property, my body, my right. Same thing that's true for your truck was true for Stephanie's body. In this case, she owns herself and she has a right to do whatever she wants. And why is it, Danny, that it is a crime to sell something that is legal to give away for free?
Because it's profit. And
profit for who? It's profit in a way that takes away from the state, that takes away from the government. Do you know why?
Okay, hold on.
Let's keep it real, Danny. Kick it back to us one time.
All right. So you know what the difference is between a porno and paying a prostitute?
The camera.
Exactly. As soon as a cop walks in on the prostitute, if you have a camera on site, you can say you're filming a homemade porno.
So I guess the moral of the story is if you purchase services from a sex worker, set up your phone on a little tripod and be set to go with that.
Exactly. And
matter of fact, make sure you discuss it with her ahead of time so that you don't get caught for, just in case she's an undercover cop.
Oh, yeah.
Or he, I guess, no judgment to anybody based on what you're into.
No judgment.
I don't know how the cops are going after people these days, but yeah, make sure you discuss ahead of time that you're an actor, not a sex worker. You're an actor in a movie.
Exactly.
I guess the answer is yes, but Danny, we care about these people. We cared about them within the first 15 minutes. Do we care about what's happening to them? Hell yeah, right? Hell yeah, dude. Even if I didn't care about these people, I cared so much about what was happening to them that I cared about them by default. Oh. I wanted to know where this was going. This was amazing.
Like we keep saying, it is realistic. It can happen to anybody.
Anybody that's into this sort of thing, for sure.
Look, this is a life story from one of my friends. She had a brother. The brother had a girlfriend. The girlfriend was a bartender at a strip club. Found out that she can make more stripping than bartending. So she went on stripping. As soon as she got on stripping,
she found out there's yet another level to making that money. And speaking of tax-free money, that's what the next level is all about.
Yeah, the owner of the bar started pimping her ass out.
Okay, so that's not cool. It's not that it was uncool, it's just uncool that it wasn't her decision to do that.
Oh, no, because she got hooked on some currently illegal substances.
So she was basically chemically coerced into that sort of work, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that was not portrayed in this movie, and that's fine for the case of this movie. There's no gripe for this movie, because again, this is based on a true story, and that wasn't part of this story, or trust me, it would have been in here, because they kept it real with this movie.
Oh, yeah.
This is a mundane question. We've already answered. Did it hook your interest within the first 20 minutes?
Oh, definitely. But like I said, within the first 15, I was sold.
Were you double sold 5 minutes after that?
Oh, yeah.
Now talk to me about this. Did you think that the acting was good?
It was on point from
and Q reviews totally, we agree with you all on that.
Yeah.
It was amazing, guys. His acting was amazing in this story.
Oh, yeah. Especially we'll call him X. I don't remember the actual pimp's name, but...
They called him Z, I think, in the tweets, right?
Yeah, they called him Z in the tweets. As soon as he got angry, threw out the American accent and went into
full Jamaican. Straight back to Jamaican. I don't know if the actor that portrayed him in this movie was Jamaican or had Jamaican people in his family or what his background with Jamaica was, but bruh, I believe that he was a Jamaican for real. I was sold. You got me on that. So excellent acting on that. Danny, let me ask you this. Is there anything you liked about the world in which this movie was set?
I like the club scenes.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely visually appealing. And if you're any kind of hedonist, basically, It was visually appealing, and if you're not a hedonist, then I guess you would say it was super realistic, rubbing the ugliness of the world in for you.
But I also like the business aspect, too.
I love the business aspect of this. One of the things that's the biggest travesty to me about the fact that women do not have a right to their own bodies, that people in general don't have a right to their own bodies. One of the biggest travesties of that is that the whole reason that pimping exists is because sex work is illegal.
Oh, yeah, especially in this country.
Especially in this country.
If you look at other countries, it's legal, and they have medical insurance, all this stuff.
They can go to the police if any of their customers get out of line.
Yeah, it's not a under-the-ground type thing.
No, it's not. Anybody that knows why the whole tentacle thing is so big in Japanese cartoons understands that repression breeds depravity, and the suppression of things that the state and that society in general has no right to suppress only creates and exacerbates the problem that it's trying to solve by forcing people to be moral. Because you can't force people to be moral. You can't force people to even obey the law, no matter how well intended it is.
Seriously, I mean, I do have moral standards, but am I a moral person? No. I'll admit that for
Oh no, I
for
disagree with
well.
that. I think you're a moral person. I think the fact that you're standing up for other people's rights and their right to own themselves on this makes you a moral person. The fact that you're not judging people on that makes you a moral person. Maybe you're saying you're not a moral person by the prescriptive definition of morality by anti-sex people that want to control what other people's behavior. Maybe you're not moral by that standard of morality. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because let's face it, my personal life story is not moral.
No. Maybe not by, again, we're talking about moral
Moral
by society standards. Politically correct, basically. That's a great way to describe it. She doesn't mean moral, guys. She means politically correct. And if you're somebody that is heavy on political correctness, and I mean this with the utmost love and joy and decency.
And respect.
But please, go fuck yourself. So, number 6, Danny, do you like the style in which this movie is made?
Again, yes, because it keeps it real. It keeps it 100% accurate.
Did you like the fact that we've talked about this before, but did you like the fact that they included some of the actual screenshots of the actual tweets when they were telling this story just to show how real they were?
They didn't include the screenshots, but they did include the bird sound that the tweets make.
Okay, so they let you know what was going on. They're kind of showing you where they are in the story for people that got into this movie based on reading the tweets.
Exactly.
Because this movie certainly had a lot of fans. You know, I really liked the fact that they were loyal to their fan base, to the people that were into the story getting into it.
Oh, yeah.
Not to put words in your mouth, but I'm pretty sure I already know your answer to this, Danny. Could I watch this movie with my family?
Fuck no.
Fuck no, not unless I'm insane, right? Not unless I want them to hate me and never watch a movie with me again.
Exactly. This is like they explained when they went to go watch this in the movie theater.
There were people that got up and walked the fuck out.
Oh, yeah. There were several people that got out of there as soon as the hotel scene came up.
Here's a good one. I don't know if I've seen any reviews that talked about this so far yet. Is there a moral to this story? There doesn't have to be a moral to stories, because especially a true story, because it happened and therefore it's valid on that alone. You know, it doesn't need one to be moral. But is there a moral to this story?
No, there isn't. It's just a life lesson.
It's just crazy shit that just happens. I don't think it was intended to teach anything. It's not fiction. It's the truth. It's just something that happened, and life doesn't always have a moral. Life is just crazy, right?
Exactly. Life likes to steal people's cookies.
If you don't know what that means, go listen to some more T.I. where he says, "I'm from Bankhead. I will take your cookies." So, does this movie give you context within the first 5 minutes of watching it?
Oh, yeah, because
It does. It straight up lets you know what's going on.
I think the first voiceover we actually hear from Zola is pretty much stating, you want to know how I had a falling out with this bitch, and freeze frame on, Stephanie?
Stephanie. Speaking to our listeners that are into this kind of movie and into this kind of real stuff, if you were a fan of Hustle and Flow and you're just now hearing about Zola, the main white girl from Hustle and Flow is Stephanie in this movie, and she does just every bit as good of a job with this character as she did with her character in Hustle and Flow.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a very similar character, I must say, because she's literally doing the same kind of work for sure.
Oh, yeah, and didn't they mention something about the Florida Project, too, in that one, in the review that we watched?
Oh, yeah, Q Reviews definitely shouted that out, and, you know, I don't know exactly when we'll get to it, but the Florida Project is, if you like these kind of real-life movies, this crazy stories about real-life type of thing, definitely go check out the Florida Project. Florida's crazy. I actually haven't been to Florida. I've only been as far as Georgia, where I lived for 5 years, but, man...
I've been to Orlando.
Okay, so let me just ask you, Danny, is from what you saw in Orlando, is this accurately representative of the shady stuff that goes on in Florida?
Oh, yeah, I'm lucky. I'm mainly
you made it back.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I made it back, and B, that for 95% of the time, I stayed in my hotel room.
Not for the same reason that these individuals in this movie were in their hotel room,
right? No,
right?
this was for my safety.
Yeah, it was for your safety, whereas the hotel activity in this movie was definitely what, I guess you would say, put their safety in question.
Oh, definitely, especially in some of the scenes.
And that's one of the things I loved about Zola, you know, our hero in this story, is even though she didn't like this person and didn't like being in this situation that, no pun intended, that Stephanie tricked her into being in.
Big time, by the way.
Big time, man. She told her she was going to go make some of that easy look at me money, and then they get down there and they're just like all about getting that have me money. And Zola, who had a lot of self-respect, was straight up like, bruh, I'm not doing that.
Like,
I'm not this is not for sale. We're not doing, you might be doing that shit. I'm not doing that shit.
Like, the pimp actually asked, hey, do you want to go and trap? And you just see her face fall. Zola's face just went, no, I am not about that life.
Zola kept it so gangster that even the guy who was this big bad guy, who was based on a real bad guy, who, again, no spoilers on this, but go read the tweets to find out what really happened to Z, or what was his name in the movie again?
We call him X, but I don't think that's his actual name.
Oh, hell no. If you want to know what actually happened to X, go read the tweets, most definitely. And P.S., the tweets read really good before and after this movie. I read them after, but actually having read them, I wish I'd read them before, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, especially with the context and everything that details.
Most definitely. Again, shout out to Isaiah King. You're a great storyteller, homegirl. So, did it have an ending, or did it just quit?
Oh, it had an ending.
Yeah, it did have an ending. It also kind of just quit, but again, it's a true story, so there's no criticism of the ending because the ending was true to real life. It was true to the story. When you watch Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, which thankfully we're not for this podcast, everyone always wants to know, was it true to the book? And the book in this case was the viral Twitter story, and yeah, no, I kept it 100% true to that.
Oh, yeah, I kept it completely 100% accurate.
100%. So, this question doesn't really apply to this because it's a true story, but is it believable?
It's a true story, so yeah.
Danny, were there any good twists in this movie?
Oh, a few.
Oh, man, there were some great twists. We're not actually going to spoil that for you, and be careful with the other movie reviews you watch because they will, give that away. But the twist in this movie, and again, as a matter of fact, in this true story, were amazing.
Oh, yeah. If you go into this movie thinking that, oh, well, she's stripping, she goes ahead and tricks herself out and gets killed or whatever, or hooked on something. If you're the kind of person that is looking for some sort of prescriptive moral message of don't do bad things because bad things will happen to you in this story, if you're looking for some sort of moral statement about how women should live from anti-sex feminists, this movie's gonna piss you the fuck off even more than this podcast does. Oh yeah.
This movie and this story is a slap in the face to anti-sex feminists.
Now, there's also a extra question that we do ask sometimes is, would we rent or buy this movie?
Yeah, what would you say, Danny? Would you rent or buy this movie?
Well, we did rent it, sort of.
Yeah, sort of. We definitely did not stream this movie for free, and you shouldn't either. You shouldn't.
Pirating
you should
is wrong.
Follow the law. Pirating is wrong. I don't know what 1, 2, 3 movies is, but it sure sounds bad.
Oh yeah, I would rent it. It's not.
Oh hell yeah!
It's not something that I would buy to constantly rewatch.
But if I had to have a movie around my house to put on for people that are not easily moved or easily shocked or that are easily bored by movies. Now, if you're easily offended, you're not going to be at my house to start with. But if I've got the kind of guests I usually have at my house over, and they're the kind of people that are usually unimpressed with movies in general just because they're too cool for them and they're easily bored, oh yeah, this is definitely worth the money you would spend to have this on deck to watch with somebody.
This would be something that you would buy to keep around the house.
If you need to make a point to somebody that thinks they're too cool to like any modern movies, this is one that you want to have in your collection for sure.
Especially if they went ahead and were one of the ones that were following the tweets back in 2015.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I'll put it to you this way. If buying this movie was the only way to get it, this would have been money well spent. I would not have been disappointed at all. It was not a cheap thrill. I definitely wouldn't trivialize Isaiah King's real life story with homegirl Jessica and what they went through at all that way. But man, even if this was fiction, this is definitely worth the money you would spend on it.
Oh yeah.
And hey, and for that matter, if you're the kind of person that's got money to make it rain and shit like that, bro, give some love to this director. Again, we're not about the movie companies and stuff like that, but A24 Films, You hooked me with The Lighthouse, and you definitely got my attention with this. And as Danny pointed out to me earlier, the fact that these two are connected. I'm not even the kind of person that follows shit like that, but the next time I see a movie is made by A24 Films, I don't even care what it's about. I'm going to go watch it just because you guys have given me so much crazy shit to see already.
Oh, yeah. I think we have a lot of their movies on our list, I actually believe.
This movie was believable. This movie was entertaining.
You really definitely need to go see it.
If you haven't turned this off already by our choice of subject matter and our choice of language and our little bit of uppity libertarian political preaching, if you're a libertarian, definitely go and watch this movie. This movie is definitely a vignette, a portrait of the state of the world, and it's not intended to be a sermon about why sex work should be legal, but it's definitely a case in point about why sex work should be legal.
Oh, yeah, especially the twists and turns that are involved in this movie.
One of the things that was just a little bit, talked about in the Q Reviews review of this movie, which is this a ratchet movie or not? I think it is and it isn't. I think this was a very classy, well-made movie about ratchet shit.
Oh, yeah, it brought to light what these women that do this experience, but in a classical sense, so that it's not all up in your face, so to speak.
This movie, again, would have been perfect if it was a fictional story, but the best part about it is no one can say, oh, this is over the top, oh, this wasn't believable, because it's a true story, bitch. This is absolutely the truth. This is the truth about life. It doesn't get any truer than this.
There's tweets about it.
Not that tweets should always be trusted, but again, she authenticated her tweets, she showed the real pictures, and you can't make this shit up. Not something this good. The dialogue was on point. I thought it did a great job of handling race and culture and accurately portraying the complexity of that in ways that a lot of movies are afraid to touch. This movie's dope. This movie's fucking amazing. Go and watch this movie. If you like movies like this, go and watch this fucking movie.
Go.
Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to tune in next time. Have a blessed night.